Hey everybody, Steve Green here, and I wanted to take this opportunity to briefly talk about what's going on with this discussion about the chemistry workshop. So pretty simple, pretty simple. If you have questions and you aren't live on this, you can either drop them in the comments or just reach out to me directly. A little bit of history. In the spring, I've been doing this for years. I've tutored chemistry. I was a chemistry teacher in high school and middle school. I was also a math teacher. I've also done a ton of SAT and ACT prep. So short version is I've done a lot of this. And I've always tutored in chem and physics and bio and all the different levels of math. For whatever reason, chemistry, at least locally, appears to be more problematic. So partly from the sake of time efficiency, I started doing larger groups, 2 people, 4 people, 8 people, even 10, 12. The maximum I ever had was 19. And this was exacerbated in the spring, in April, May, and June, once they got into the so-called distance learning idea and how that was all working out. So what I basically did was we set a time. Whoever wanted to show up and check it out did, and we moved along there. So what are the basic goals? 1, to go over the present concepts in the class. 2, to review any concepts that happened in the prior weeks, prepare for quizzes and tests, maybe most importantly, answer questions, but also be an ongoing resource so students know, hey, whenever the next one of these is, I know I have a place to get some help. The workshop is an open group. In other words, there may be different people there every single time. There may be a very heterogeneous ability level. There may be very strong students and people are really struggling. I don't know. It's going to be a little bit of a grab bag every time. You'd have to opt in for each workshop date. You can choose to come or not to come. You don't have to obligate yourself to them. Basically what I did in the past was, let's say there was 8 people in the workshop, we just rotated through questions. So you're first, what's your question? You're second, what's your question? And after all 8 go, we rotate back through. Generally speaking, everybody benefited from all the questions, but obviously people were most interested in the question that they had, and that's fairly self-evident. This is probably going to be the same day, same time. Like, for example, Wednesday at 8 o'clock at night. That's not the time, but that's the idea. But it may shift depending on when quizzes or tests are and what the need is. And by the way, I've done this for math as well. What it isn't is not intended to be a replacement for tutoring. And we'll be clear about that. This is not supposed to be, a parallel to an hour of one-on-one direct tutoring. It's also not a replacement for meeting with a teacher. So I get, in some cases, people are unhappy or dissatisfied with what they're getting from the teacher, but I would still encourage that, and this is not supposed to replace that. This is not a tightly structured group, so there's going to be people kind of coming and going, and it's not focused on one level or track. There may be honors people, academic track, conceptual track, and not exclusive basically means there may be people from other schools. I'm not really sure. It's a little bit of a work in progress that way, but the point is always to enable people who are interested in chemistry and have questions, presumably struggling a little bit, to get their questions answered below the level of having to commit to a dedicated hour of one-on-one tutoring and all the time and costs involved in that. How would you access this? Most likely it's going to be on Zoom, which is not a foreign entity to anybody who's a student or probably an adult in this place. I may also put it into my resource community, my success community, which are places I provide support to my students, families, and community as a large. You can get support generally from me. These are my email, my website, and then the success community is a dedicated subscription community where people get a higher level of service. So I would look at sort of the tiers here as the least dedicated would be the workshop. The next level up would be the success community, where you're going to get more attention. It's a slightly higher price point. And then the highest level would be the one-on-one tutoring. So cost, and I'm sorting this out. I don't want to be held to any numbers, but in the spring, it was generally $10 to $20 per student per workshop, which is basically an hour. It gets a lot of hair splitting because some people only want to come for a half hour. It's frankly too complicated to try to sort all that out. Somebody comes for 21 minutes. So probably what I'm going to do is either do in half-hour blocks or hour blocks. 99% of the world is paying by Venmo. If that's a question people have, it usually is. But I try to keep it simple. This is not about trying to squeeze money out of people because they're struggling with chemistry. It just isn't. It's not my mindset, and it's not what I'm trying to project. But what it is trying to provide a low-cost, economically simple way to get help when you or your child needs it, kind of on demand. And then here's how you can reach me. There's my website. The second website, maximation.net, is for my book. You can schedule, if you're interested in one-on-one tutoring at the scheduling site, you can email. There's my Twitter. I'm not really sure why that's there, but it is. So, short version, let me go back up to the top really fast. Chemistry workshop to review present and past concepts, to prepare for quizzes and tests, answer questions students have, and to be an ongoing resource. And the last thing I'll say is, if you're interested, you can let me know. I'm going to try to sort one of these out and start one sometime this upcoming week. And we'll go from there. And there is a kind of an option to get additional help that we can do through asynchronous things like messaging and things like that. So there's a lot more here. We could peel back on the onion, so to speak. But for the time being, I'm going to leave it at this. And if anyone has any questions, please reach out to me by all the things up there. And I guess also by Facebook Messenger, because that's been happening as well. So that is it. Steve Green here, trying to keep it short and sweet. That's usually my goal. Let me just see if there's any comments. I don't see any, so that's good news. But if you have any questions, please reach out. I'll just throw this here in case anybody hasn't seen it. There we go. Whoops, wrong one. There we go. All right, let me just wait a second, see if there are any comments. I'm going to keep this about 8 minutes, so we're almost done. Since I'm on here, I think I'll play the Make the Grade theme song as we take it out. So thanks, everyone. I hope this is going to be helpful. I think this is going to be a good resource. And the goal is to help your students, your children, your family members have a kind of better ride through the sea of chemistry this year. And it's early. It's only October, so let's jump on this ahead of time. Get that going. So thanks again. I will see you soon.